1 year ago, my father passed away. At first, my mother was very depressed and couldn't be left alone, but recently she has started to laugh more and seems to be regaining her brightness little by little. Just as our family began to stabilize, my husband acted on his own, causing great turmoil within our home. I've already told your mom about the pain in my parents' legs, and she said it's fine for us to use this space, so I think there's no problem. There's definitely a problem. This is the Owen family. Why are you driving us out and letting your family relax? For some reason, my husband brought his parents, who had been living with his brother and sister-in-law, into our home. Even my father's room, which had been untouched for a long time, was used without permission. Due to my husband, who does as he pleases, and his thoughtless parents, it has become uncomfortable to live here. Recently, my mother has been spending more time outside. This is unacceptable. No matter what, I must get his parents to leave this house. This is a story about how my husband and his parents almost took over the house after my father's death. My name is Michelle, and I am 40 years old this year. I married Wayne when I was 28. I have an illness that makes it difficult for me to work outside. I used to work at a company when I was younger, but due to my unstable health condition, which often caused inconvenience to others, I later worked from home to earn an income. However, my income is dependent on my health, so it is not stable every month. Due to this instability, living alone is difficult. So, until I got married, I depended on my parents, who were both earning, and worked during the gaps in household chores. After getting married, Wayne and I started living together in a rented apartment. Gradually, we were able to save money, and we planned to own a home in the future. However, the situation changed abruptly when Wayne told his parents that his brother had built a 2-family home to live with his parents. Following this, my parents suggested that we live with them as they were planning a major renovation of their house. My parents were concerned about my unstable income and the monthly fluctuations in it. They judged that it would be difficult for just the 2 of us to own a home, and they seemed to feel insecure about the rented apartment we were living in. I am truly grateful for my parents' proposal, but living with a spouse's parents is not easy. Even though I was considering this, I tried to respect Wayne's opinion, who was excited that my parents would provide all the funding, and he accepted the proposal to live together without hesitation. For about the next 10 years, we lived together, the 4 of us, and I felt that we had a relatively good relationship. As my father was strict, my usually carefree husband was cautious in front of him, and my parents avoided unnecessary interference, except when the 4 of us were together. Despite having an unstable income and not being able to have children, we were able to live a smooth married life without any major conflicts, thanks to the support of my parents. I will definitely repay this favor someday. With this feeling of gratitude, I had obtained a qualification for nursing care that would be necessary in the future. However, before I could utilize this qualification, my father suddenly passed away from a heart attack. Unable to accept reality, my mother lost her appetite, lost weight, and frequently fell ill. Therefore, I tried to stay close to my mother as much as possible, but during this time, Wayne's behavior gradually began to show signs of abnormality. 10 years ago, during the renovation of our house, our home was expanded from 2 stories to 3 stories. The first floor had a bedroom and toilet exclusively for my parents, and the storeroom was used as my father's study. The second floor had the kitchen, laundry space, and bathroom, which were shared by the entire family, but the living space adjacent to the kitchen was mainly used by my parents. And the third floor was entirely given to us, the couple. We had our own toilet and 2 rooms, which we used as a living room and a bedroom. Except for coming down to the 2nd floor for meals and baths, it was possible for us to live mostly on the 3rd floor. Despite having lived like this all along, after my father's passing, Wayne inexplicably started spending more time on the 2nd floor. "Why are you watching TV on the 2nd floor? This is Mom's area, right?" Despite my repeated warnings, Wayne argued, "She's currently in the bedroom, so it's fine to use this place." Using the fact that the refrigerator is on the 2nd floor as a reason, Wayne started spending his time in the 2nd floor living room daily. Knowing he was there, my mother, being reserved, stopped coming up to the 2nd floor. Even when I spoke to Wayne about this, he did not accept it. After my father's death, Wayne began to act selfishly, and we had frequent conflicts. After arguing many times, we hardly talked to each other anymore when something bad happened. 1 year after my father's death, my mother, who had been mostly homebound, started going out more often, which was a relief. What are these boxes?" This happened one night when I returned from shopping with my mother. When we returned home, the door to the storeroom on the 1st floor was open, and looking inside, all the items that had been in my father's study had disappeared. In that place, an old dresser and bed that I didn't recognize were placed. Additionally, many cardboard boxes were stacked up. Seeking the reason for what was happening, I quickly headed to the 2nd floor living room, but there was not only Wayne but also other people. In the kitchen, my mother-in-law was standing, and my father-in-law was enjoying drinks with Wayne in the living room. I called Wayne out into the hallway and asked him about the situation, but he explained, "I had to call them because Mother wasn't getting along with my brother's wife." I decided to let them use that storeroom. His answer was self-centered. "Why didn't you say anything? We haven't been talking recently, and it would have ended up in a fight anyway," Wayne said. He argued that the lack of prior consultation was because our relationship was bad. "Where is Dad's stuff?" "You didn't throw it away, did you?" I asked. "Yeah, I threw it away." "Keeping things that aren't used is meaningless," Wayne replied. Enraged by Wayne's actions, I yelled loud enough for his parents behind the door and my mother downstairs to hear. "Please leave immediately." "All right, put all the discarded items back where they were." "All right." Wayne dismissively brushed off the words I spoke in anger. Though he said all right, he likely wouldn't take any action. In past arguments, he always casually responded and ended the conversation. "Please listen to me seriously, Michelle." As I raised my voice, I heard someone call out from behind me. Turning around, I saw my mother climbing the stairs, placing her finger to her lips and shaking her head. "It's late, so they will stay here tonight," she said, considering my parents-in-law. Even when I tried to talk to Wayne after that, he only dodged the issue, busy taking care of his parents and not facing it head-on. The next morning, the drunken Wayne slept in the living room on the 2nd floor. The table was cluttered with used dishes, and my irritation only grew. Unable to bring myself to start the laundry at that moment, I was startled when clothes were thrown at me. "Michelle, you're commendable for doing your parents' laundry too. Anna, even though it's a 2-family house, she only does their own laundry." Without asking me whether I could do their laundry, my mother-in-law handed me clothes as if it were a given and began complaining about her daughter-in-law. "Do they really plan to live here? This is my family home, built by us, the Owen family." After my mother-in-law left the room, I tried to wake Wayne, who was sleeping in the living room. However, he only groaned and didn't wake up easily. Unable to stand it any longer, I went back to my room on the third floor and contacted my brother-in-law. Yes, I've heard about it from Wayne. What do you mean you've heard? I haven't been explained anything. This is the Owen house. It's not appropriate for the Hanson family to live here. Brother, please help. Suddenly being handed laundry, I panicked. If I don't kick them out soon, they'll probably stay forever. I asked for help, but my brother-in-law simply replied, I talked to Wayne, but it seems the situation between Anna and Mother is beyond repair, and she herself doesn't want to live here. That can't be. I'm sorry, but please try to handle it. Wait, just a minute. Even as I insisted it was my parents' house, I was ignored, and the conversation was unilaterally ended, and the call was cut off. Troubled, I went back to the second floor to Wayne. Mom, my mother had just woken up and was tidying up the mess in the living room. I'll take care of this, so why don't you go wash up and refresh yourself, Mom? Originally, I had intended for Wayne to clean up, but ultimately, I ended up dealing with it. After sending my mother to the washroom, I started doing the dishes, when suddenly Wayne woke up and began rummaging through the refrigerator behind me. I washed my hands and brought up yesterday's issue again. Did you really throw away my father's belongings? Don't keep asking. Yes, I threw them away. You did this without consulting our family at all. Are you aware of that? It's really selfish. Well, there's no need to keep things that aren't used. Is this a difference in values, or was his relationship with my father just formal? My mother and I had wanted to keep my father's belongings as they were for at least a while, but Wayne had disposed of them easily. No matter how much I explain, it seems he will not understand. Though I am almost giving up on getting Wayne to understand, thinking of my mother's sadness weighs heavily on me. I can't continue living with someone who throws away others' belongings without permission. I need to think about the future. Despite warning him about the future, Wayne remained silent with a sullen face. By the way, I contacted your brother earlier. What? Why? I asked him to come pick them up. I told him we can't live together because this is my parents' house. Listen to me. I relayed the conversation with his brother, but Wayne frowned and yelled, Don't belittle my parents. They have nowhere to return. There's no such thing as having nowhere to return. They can go back to your brother's house. But they can't go back there. Then they should rent somewhere else to live. This is our parents. The argument continued, and Wayne cut off the conversation and left without listening to the rest of what I had to say. As he left, he said, Always about your parents' house, your parents' house. This is also my house. Indeed, this house is also a home to Wayne. By continuously emphasizing that it's our parents' house, I might be making him feel uncomfortable. However, my parents never accepted money from us, even when we tried to contribute monthly. You will eventually support this house on your own. With this statement, we were essentially directed to save money. Considering how much she has thought about this, I wanted my mother to be the top priority. I hoped he would refrain from taking unilateral actions just because it's our house. I struggled to figure out how to make him understand. While I was agonizing over my feelings toward Wayne, my mother returned to the second floor living room. She had probably heard our conversation on the stairs. My mother spoke to me. If they can't find a place to go, it's okay for them to stay here until they do. Your parents-in-law are also part of your family, Michelle. See, your mother understands too. Wayne argued back, empowered by her words. I was irritated by his manner of speaking but acquiesced to my mother's suggestion. Please find a new home. Okay. All right. No matter how many times I ask, Wayne's responses remain vague. I was worried whether he'd really look for a new place, but I needed to make sure this one thing was upheld. Then, 3 days later, something happened. Really. I couldn't hide my joy during the phone call. I had almost given up, thinking the items were discarded, but I was delighted when I contacted a junk removal service and confirmed that my father's belongings were still intact. After hanging up, I immediately contacted a storage facility I had been researching. I had arranged to store my father's belongings there during my parents-in-law's stay, as they might get thrown out again if left at home. Before leaving, I stopped by my mother's room on the first floor, but she wasn't there. I wanted to tell her about the safely stored items, but I couldn't find her anywhere. So, I went to the living room on the second floor. Oh, Michelle, my tipsy mother-in-law greeted me with a smile. Despite it being early, she was already heavily intoxicated. "Are you going out?" Wayne, still in his work clothes, was drinking in the living room. The usually tidy second-floor living room was now cluttered with empty cans and dishes. I had repeatedly told my parents-in-law to use the third-floor living room, but they were still on the second floor today. I couldn't sense any intention from them to look for the new residence they had promised. I called Wayne into the hallway to talk. "Why won't your parents go up to the third floor?" "They say their legs hurt." "But Mom is on the second floor. Their legs hurt, so it's even more difficult for them to go up to the third floor. It would be resolved if your mother would go up to the third floor instead." No matter how much I complain, Wayne always seems to override my opinions. Exhausted from the busy and contentious environment, I changed the subject to ask about my mother's whereabouts. "What?" "She went to a net cafe." I was surprised by Wayne's answer. "Yes, with a friend." "Your mom is really youthful. She handles the computer just fine and might come back late tonight." Wayne seemed impressed by my mother's youth, but I couldn't imagine her spending time in a net cafe. It wasn't strange since she frequently uses computers, but why would she go to a net cafe? Then it hit me. My mother usually uses the desktop computer on the second floor. Since it's not portable, she might be feeling inconvenienced. "Hey, can we let my mom use the second floor?" The second floor has the computer. There's no TV in the first floor bedroom, and it seems like my mother has a lot of spare time. Even when I asked, Wayne looked displeased. "I've already told your mom about the pain in my parents' legs, and she said it's fine for us to use this space, so I think there's no problem." There's definitely a problem. This is the Owen family. Why are you driving us out and letting your family relax? I often feel that Wayne lacks understanding. The reason my mother went to the net cafe was probably because she wanted her own space. Saying she went with a friend was clearly a lie. I suspected it was a statement made to consider Wayne's feelings. Even so, Wayne seemed to conveniently believe my mother's story. "You always think only of your parents." "My parents don't know anyone here and can't meet friends. Since your mother has friends nearby, it should be fine for her to go out during the day. If she doesn't like it, she can go to the third floor." He shouted in anger. Wayne's expression at that moment was terrifying, unlike anything I had seen before, and I was left speechless. Is this what it means for affection to cool in an instant? I was more surprised by my own calmness than by the anger. I truly felt that we could no longer live together. I left the house without saying anything. Before going to pick up my father's things, I stopped by the lawyer's office. In the evening, I visited my mother's room on the first floor and handed her the keys to the storage locker. "I'll store these temporarily, but I promise to put everything back where it belongs," I said sincerely. My mother listened quietly, placed her hand on my shoulder, and made me look up. Michelle, you shouldn't disregard his parents. I might leave this world at any time, and once I'm gone, won't your family only consist of them? Since you're not strong, you might need to rely on them, right? My mother smiled gently, but I couldn't nod in agreement. I was completely fed up with Wayne's behavior since my father's death. I strongly wished to end my relationship with my thoughtless parents-in-law quickly. I pulled out the documents I had received at the office from my bag. I'm filing for divorce. I said it without hesitation, and my mother silently stared at the divorce papers. After a few minutes of silence, my mother sighed and started talking. Your father never took any money from you too, did he? That's right. Telling you to save wasn't just for your future. This was new information to me. My mother leaned in close, making sure her voice wouldn't carry outside, and whispered, We set things up so that even if we're gone, you, Michelle, with little income and weak health, can stand up to Wayne. Of course, it's best to get along, but life is unpredictable. After the divorce. This house is set up to be yours. That was the idea. The house should support your life. With the government payments and your income, it should be enough. My mother smiled gently for a moment, but her expression quickly turned cold. Foon, you're getting a divorce. While saying that, she picked up the smartphone that was on the bed. The faint vibration sound I had heard while talking about the storage unit became clearer once she took the phone in her hand. When she showed me the screen, I looked at her with a puzzled expression. Notifications from a social media app were popping up one after another. Though I was unable to understand the situation, my mother smiled contentedly and said, It went viral. A few days later, in the morning, I confronted Wayne with the divorce papers. So you resort to divorce whenever things don't work out? Fine, let's divorce. But in exchange, I'm selling this house, Wayne said. He quickly took the divorce papers from me. However, he can't sell this house. The house is registered in my name. Originally, it was under my mother's name, but we changed it to mine anticipating the future. If I hadn't married you, maybe I could have had children, Wayne said sarcastically, but I felt nothing. I know what's coming for Wayne. Make sure you have no regrets. Watching Wayne handle things roughly while showing his displeasure, I whispered that quietly. What? As I responded to his question, the doorbell rang. Knowing my mother was waiting outside, I didn't answer the doorbell and started doing the laundry. Over here. My mother's lively voice came from downstairs along with the sound of several movers' footsteps. Wayne, wondering what was happening, went downstairs. Soon Wayne's panicked voice and my parents-in-law's shouts could be heard. My mother had called the movers to send my parents-in-law's belongings back to my brother-in-law's house. Stop it, please. Mother, why are you moving people's belongings without permission? As if she had anticipated his words, my mother cut him off and strongly countered. You were the first to dispose of things without permission. When Wayne had discarded my father's belongings, my mother kept quiet, thinking of what might happen after we were gone. If you're divorcing, I won't endure it any longer. With that declaration, my mother decided to kick my parents-in-law out of the house immediately. Then, Wayne received a call when he was trying to stop the movers and exclaimed, Wait, what news? He picked up the phone and frantically turned on the TV while likely talking to a friend. The program shown on the screen was a morning TV show that creates news from social media posts. Wait! Is that our house? As the image of our home appeared on the TV, Wayne was shocked. I couldn't believe that my mother had been doing this on social media. The events of the night I declared the divorce came rushing back. It went viral. At that time, What my mother had shown me was the screen of the social media app currently being broadcasted on TV. It had posts saying, "My daughter's husband is causing problems. We might lose the house," and starting with that post, my mother's tweets garnered a lot of sympathy, leading to interview requests from major newspapers. Originally, my mother had no intention of participating in interviews, but as soon as she learned of my decision to divorce, she changed her mind and responded positively to the interview offers, which led to the progression of the story. As I stared at the TV showing our house, my mother whispered softly, "Now Wayne will also find it hard to stay here, won't he?" In that moment, her eyes sparkled as if filled with joy. I stared coldly at Wayne, who was pale-faced. He undoubtedly feared that this would become known at his workplace. The power of the media is immeasurable, and once information is circulated, it's inevitable that people will try to find out who owns the house. Eventually, photographs of Wayne, my parents-in-law, and our family were widely published on the internet. Driven into a corner, Wayne hurriedly submitted the divorce papers, packed his belongings, and left the house. Thus, peace finally returned to our home. I was able to safely return my father's belongings to the storeroom, and I feel relieved. Currently, my mother and I live peacefully together, but there might come a day when I will be left alone in this house. Yet, I am determined to cherish this house, never forgetting my gratitude towards my father